In this first lesson, we're going to consider the question, what are human rights? At their core, they're just basic standards that protect us from unfair, degrading, or abusive treatment by the state. It's all about making sure people are treated with dignity, freedom, and equality. And here's the thing, human rights are not privileges. That's not the same thing. They can't just be given to you, and they certainly can't be taken away. So think about it. These rights are especially important for people who might be vulnerable to state power. And by that, I mean people like political activists or minority groups or even ordinary people who, for whatever reason, end up at odds with the government. So basically, human rights are the rules that say, no matter what, there are some things that the state simply cannot do to you. So why do human rights matter? Well, let's try to picture a world without them. Without human rights law, the state could do some pretty scary things. It could lock people up indefinitely without a trial, silence anyone who criticises the government, or openly discriminate against minority groups. Now, this sounds extreme, but unfortunately it has happened, and it still happens in many places around the world, as we'll see. So human rights exist to stop that from happening. And at the heart of human rights is the idea of human dignity. And that basically means that every person has value by the very fact that they are human. No one should ever be treated as disposable. No one should ever be treated without respect. So human rights law acts as a limit on what the state can do. It sets clear boundaries for governments and it gives people legal protections, ways to challenge unfair treatment by the state, usually through the courts. So in simple terms then, human rights are there to restrict the state's power and give individuals tools to stand up against injustice. So here's a simple way to think about human rights. They're a bit like traffic laws. Traffic laws exist because without them, the roads would be chaotic and dangerous. They set basic rules so everyone can use the road safely. Human rights work in a very similar way, but for society. They set the minimum standards for how people should be treated, just for being human. Now, these standards apply to everyone, no matter how much money you have or where you come from or what you believe or who you are. Human rights don't mean everyone gets everything they want, though. Instead, they recognise that we live together in society, and sometimes our freedoms will clash with each other. And when that happens, human rights law gives us a framework to balance interests. So just like traffic rules decide who has the right of way at a junction, human rights law helps decide when one person's freedom can be limited to protect others or the wider public. So human rights aren't just abstract ideals, they're not lofty ideas, they're practical rules that help manage conflict, they limit power, and they make society fairer and safer for everyone.